Hi, crafty friends. Welcome. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today, I'm whipping up some pie cards using some really fun new sets from Spellbinders. These were designed by Tina Smith from Cards and Coffee. Let me show you the products before we get into the projects. So I've showed you this one before. It's called Delicious Decorations, and there's so many cute little apples and strawberries and flowers and lemons and limes. It's just adorable. Next, I have the stamp set, and this one is called Perfect Pies, Sentiments and Feelings. There are so many cute sentiments in this set, and you can also make up some Thanksgiving cards because there's one that says Give Thanks, and then you can create a pumpkin pie. Next is the Dish It Up etched dies. It is so adorable. It has all of your little utensils as well as a pie plate and a serving spatula. It's such a fun set. I have nothing like this in my collection. And then I have the Perfect Pies etched die set. You can make up a lot of different pies with this set. And then I have the Picnic Checkerboard stencil. There are a lot more products in this release, and I will link to them in the description box if you're interested in checking them out. So let's start out with a blueberry pie. Now this was just fun. I made a whole pie bar here and put them in my little teal heart trays. And I just had fun putting these together. So I'm using a little bit of Prize Ribbon Distress Oxide ink to give it some dimension, a little bit of shading. And I'm blending in from the edges. These are all cardstocks from the Spellbinders Cardstock Essential collection that I'm using. And now let's put on the pie tin. And this is, I cut this out with brushed silver cardstock. The next piece I should have put on first to make sure that it fits on the pie without the pie tin getting in the way. But this is the crust to put on top of the blueberry pie. And I cut this out with some craft cardstock. This is called Oatmeal Cookie. I don't think they sell this cardstock anymore. But of course, any craft cardstock you have in your stash will do. And then this is the crust that goes around the edge of the pie. I'm using Vintage Photo to add some shading to this. And then I can just glue it in place. I'll add some more of the Vintage Photo to the checkered pie crust on top as well. I should have done that before I glued it down. This is my first time creating with these dies. So I'm just playing and experimenting with what I like. Okay, so let's add a blueberry on top, and there's a die for that. I cut it out, and I'm just adding some prize ribbon to the edge of that. And I will pop this on top using a teeny tiny foam square. And that's it for this pie, and we will set that aside. And I want to play with the Picnic Checkerboard stencil next. I'm just going to use some mint tape to place that on a piece of white cardstock. And I have some Candied Apple Distress Oxide ink. However, my brush had some crackling campfire on it, so it looks kind of orangey. I'm putting down most of the ink in the center of the stencil. And then I'm gradually going lighter as it goes toward the edges. This is a really fun stencil. Once I'm done with the Candied Apple, I'm going to wash it off and stagger it a little bit. I'll cover up all of the red squares. And then I'm going to come in with some yellow Distress Oxide ink. Look how cute that is. Okay, so I cleaned it up, and now I'm adding some scattered straw. Again, I'm putting my darkest color in the center, and then I'll gradually lighten up my pressure toward the edges of the cardstock. Once I'm done with the stencil, I'll just use a baby wipe to clean off the ink. However, you could take it to the sink and clean it off with a little bit of soap if you wanted to. And here it is. Let me show you what this looks like. So fun. I love the yellow and the red together. Next, I'm going to chomp the corners with a 1/4 inch chomp. I'll do all the corners. And then, of course, I have to do my card base as well. And then I can attach this to my white card base. The blended panel is 80-pound Nina Solar White, and my card base is 110-pound Nina Solar White. I decided to pop up the pie on a piece of heavyweight vellum that I cut out with a circle die. This will help it stand out from the very busy checkerboard background. And I cut out a few flowers using the Delicious Decoration set and some greenery. We'll just put that at the bottom of the pie. All of the dies are really small in this set, but they just include the cutest little elements. I think this is going to be one that I'll pull out frequently for my cards, just to add little details here and there, especially for summer because of all of the cute lemons and limes and fruits. And then again, it's perfect for fall because it has apples in it and looks like fall time leaves. The sentiment I chose says, "You are a sweetie," and then I'll use the die to cut out the word pie. I'm using a fishtail die to cut out my sentiment. It only has a fishtail on one side, but then I will flip it around and cut it out again so that both sides have a fishtail on them. And then the pie die cut, I'm going to add a little bit of the blue ink onto it. I'm just kind of pouncing on it with my brush. I'll put glue behind the pie so that you don't see the glue from behind the vellum, and attach that to the center of my card. The sentiment I'll pop up with some foam strips, and we'll just put this up above the pie. And then the sentiment, I'm just going to glue down under the pie, kind of subtle down there. And of course, I'll use my handy dandy tweezers to help me out with this teeny die. And we'll just glue that in place. And here is a close-up look at the finished card. Isn't that just a fun little pie? I think my favorite kind of pie would have to be strawberry, but I didn't make one for this video, but I definitely will be making up a strawberry pie. So the next pie is going to be a lime pie. I went ahead and put that together off camera. I just cut it out with some green cardstock and then the whipped cream, of course, with white, and then I cut out the limes and glued those on top. Next, I cut out a panel with white cardstock and the Spellbinders hem stitch die. And I wanted to put a little bit of color behind my pie, so I'm using some saltwater taffy Distress Oxide ink and just blending it around. This way my pie platter will stand out from the white cardstock. So I'll glue this onto a piece of yellow cardstock. This is chamomile yellow. I've been using this new color quite a lot in my card crafting. It's such a pretty, happy yellow. Now, before we add the pie, let's work on the sentiment. And this just says, "You are sublime." And I do stamp that out twice, but I just show one stamping. And now let's add the pie platter down flat. And then the lime pie, I popped up with some foam adhesive. I've never tried the key lime pie before, but I'm sure it's delicious. Oftentimes in the morning, I'll have a key lime yogurt for breakfast from Chobani. I just love that stuff. And now for the serving spatula. We'll just put those in between the sentiment and the pie. Next, I'll attach it to a white card base. And then I do add some gems to the front of this card. And here it is, all done. I just love the color scheme of this card. The green, the pink, and the yellow together look really sublime. And then I use some pink gems from the Spellbinders gem collection. Card number 3 is going to be an apple pie card. I've already cut out a banner and just fishtailed one end. And I'm going to stamp out the sentiment at the top of this banner. The color on the banner comes from Festive Berries Distress Oxide ink, and I allowed that to dry overnight. I just happened to stop at that point, and then I'm picking up this card again the next day, and it's perfectly dry. Otherwise, I'd have to shoot it with my heat tool to make sure it's dry, or the embossing powder would stick to it. I'm just using some white embossing powder, and I'm going to melt it very slowly. This one again says, "You are my sweetie," and then I'll use the pie die again. This time I wanted to give my word die a little more substance, so I'm gluing 3 of these together. This will make it into kind of a chipboard piece. and it will give it some dimension too. This is a piece of poppy red cardstock. I love this bright red. We'll attach it to the white card base, and I left a white border around it. This will coordinate with my white sentiment as well as some of the elements on my card. So here's a close-up look. I used an embossing folder, and this one is called Loops. I just got this one. I've had my eye on it for a while, and I love it. Okay, so I'm adding a little more festive berries further down on my banner. And next, I'm just going to glue this down flat on the red cardstock. The festive berries ink just needed to be down a little bit further so that you could see it beneath the pie. The pie kind of hid the color. Now I can glue down the pie sentiment. I'm just dabbing it off on that piece of scrap paper at the top. And I like how the eye is attached to the P. Makes it super easy. I haven't attached the actual pie yet. It's just there for placement at the moment. But before I do attach it down, I'm going to add the cute little apples on the top. So it comes with a whole apple and then half of an apple or an apple slice. And then I put a little bit of dark brown cardstock behind it so that the pips were brown. I'll peel off the release paper and I can put the pie down next. Isn't that just the cutest apple pie? This time I didn't cut out the pie tin. I just cut it out so it looks like the crust of the pie using more craft. Now I have a little white and red flower and some more greenery I'll put at the bottom of the pie. This just makes it pop. I love the red and the white. I added a few red gems around this, and here it is all done. So again, I'll have the complete Pie Perfection collection listed in the description box so that you can go and check those out. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for spending some of your time with me today. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.